Hey everyone, this is Mrs. Klosky, and today we are going to be developing a FontSampler application, which is far more complex than our first graphical user interface program that just simply used a flow layout with a few buttons, a couple of JText fields, and a few JLabels. In the FontSampler application, the user will be able to type right up here in this button, or excuse me, in this JText field. And when they choose the options for size, style, a listing of all of the font on your computer system, and they choose a color over here from a JColor chooser, and then they click Set Font, your text from the JText field will be displayed in the font, style, size, and color that you chose. And by the way, you'll be able to set a background color and set a font color in this color panel over here on the right. So the overall organization of the program is a J-frame, and it's using a border layout. Now, our first program used a flow layout, which is your most simplistic layout. And a border layout, which is described in your book on page 797, uses areas of the screen to organize the content. So up here at the top, let me see if I can click here. Up here at the top of the screen, I have a J panel that is using a separate layout of a grid layout containing 2 rows and 1 column. In the first row, I just have a label, and in the second row, I have a JText field. I put both of these 2 items in a panel, and I'm placing the panel in the north of the frame, of the J frame. Then, in the south, I've got a J panel, and it could either be a 1 row, 2 column layout, or I could have just used a flow layout. And it just simply has 2 buttons in it. And continuing on, in the center panel, I have placed 2 panels side by side. So this is the overall layout is 1 row with 2 columns. In my first row, first column, I have a panel with 2 checkboxes. And in my second column, first row, second column, I have a panel that has a listing or a J combo box of every font on your system. And then I just simply have a label that contains a photo or a picture. So that's the center panel. All right, continuing on the east side of the screen, I have something called a JColor chooser on the top. So this again is a grid layout. In the top of this grid layout, the grid layout has 3 rows and 1 column. I have a JColor chooser followed by 2 buttons in the next 2 rows. And if that's not complicated enough, we still have to cover the west panel, and the west panel is where we're going to start today. And it simply has a simple panel, all right? It has 3 radio buttons, 1 per row. So this is a grid layout with a 3 row, 1 column layout. All right, so getting started, I just want to show you that you need to have a game plan for this application. So when I initially created this, I kind of broke down the layout into the different sections of the screen and decided how I wanted to break it down in terms of panels. And then I developed individual classes that contain all the code for the individual panels. And that consists of constructing a panel, creating different components to add to the panel, and then providing some way for the panel to communicate back to the frame. And typically, that's a public method that's going to grab some state off of the panel, like the size or the style or a particular font or a particular color, and return that back to the main frame so that you can set the properties of the label in the main frame. All right. Continuing on, we would then take each panel that we've created and we would instantiate it in our main, some kind of a driver class, and then put each of those panels into a border layout. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started.